Welcome back to the Jimmy Chance Show. I'm Rob Cochran with my co-host Marcus Miller. We are back for another episode of the Jimmy Chance Show. We've got a lot to talk about. We got NFL Week 1 to talk about. We've got some college football storylines from Week 1 and 2 to catch up on. We've got to look ahead to Week 2 of the NFL, and we've got to look ahead to Week 3 of college football. We've got to discuss what happened with Pittsburgh. Um, Lots of COVID. We're an anti-coronavirus podcast, but we had a run in. We're all healthy, but had to cancel that. So let's jump right into it. Marcus, we've been at school for about 3 weeks. How are classes going?
Going well. It's always an interesting start to a semester. To come back from a summer break, but I think I've settled into the rhythm now. Got into routine. Um, yeah, it's classes are going well. Can't really complain. Kind of getting into the swing of things.
Yeah, same here. It's we had 2 weeks where we didn't have a Monday class, so this is like
Yeah,
our first full month, like
full week.
week. So it's kind of interesting to like that Monday just hit different.
Yeah,
Just
we're
kind of
like
knocked
two
me in the
days.
butt.
We're 2 days to this week, and it feels like it should be almost over.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, we've got a floor retreat this weekend. We're going up to, is it Michigan, right? Lake House in
Yeah,
Michigan.
yeah.
So we'll be
It's close
watching
to
the
Kalamazoo.
games Saturday and Sunday from Michigan. So that'll be fun. Um, all right. So let's talk before we get to college football. Let's look at week 1 of the NFL. Not gonna lie, when I turned on Red Zone and Scott Hansen was there, and he said it's 7 hours of commercial-free football, I had chills down my spine. I had goosebumps. It was just like it was a great experience. It was spiritual. I felt closer to God. Whatever you want to say, it felt really good. Football's good. It's good to be back. And I love the NFL. Steelers. I thought the Steelers were going to lose that game, and they came
Yeah.
out and they looked like they were going to lose it. And then we had a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of turnover luck go our way, and the Steelers ended up winning in Buffalo. What was your game of the week for NFL Week 1? What kind of stood out to you?
Um, I think the biggest surprise or the biggest like takeaway was probably the Saints killing the Packers. I didn't think Green Bay was going to get into the swing of things early, and I think they'll still be good. And I thought not St. Louis. I thought New Orleans would be better than people thought, but I didn't think it would like show up quite like this right away. Like I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be a little rusty. I thought the Saints would be a little bit better than people thought. But I mean, the Saints looked great. Packers looked horrible. I didn't watch much of it because I was watching the Dolphins at 425, but um, just following along with it. Um, yeah, I mean, I think I think we kind of doubted the Saints. They did lose some key pieces besides Breeze, but it's still roughly the same team. And I don't think Winston is a step back from what Breeze was last year. So to me, I think the biggest takeaway is just the Saints might still be a legitimate contender. It's 1 week, but yeah, I mean they might be around come January and early February still.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's always that week 1 overreaction where
Yeah,
everybody wants to take that one contender like the Ravens or somebody and say, "Oh, they were frauds." They're frauds. We're
yeah,
1 week into a now 17-week season, so like everybody just kind of needs to calm down and say, "Hey,
yep,
Lamar Jackson is still really good at football." The Packers, Aaron Rodgers is still a Super Bowl champion. Like he's an MVP caliber
yeah.
quarterback. So everybody just kind of needs to, chill pill and just kind of relax. But I do believe I don't want to take credit, for being a genius or anything, but I did draft Jameis Winston as my fantasy quarterback. So I am enjoying a week 1 fantasy football W.
Yeah, you scored a lot of points.
Yeah, I did. I
I
had it was
saw that.
points galore. Um,
Yeah, I have my quarterback. Oh, that was sorry. My quarterback was is Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he's out
oh yeah,
for a
he's
while.
toast.
So gonna be gonna be scanning the waiver wire here for a
Yeah,
new quarterback.
I'll trade you Carson Wentz. He's sitting on my bench.
I'm good. I'll go with a free agent at this point. I think I put in a waiver claim for Heineke.
Heineke. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's a good
we're
pickup.
we're reaching. Um, I'm going through the stats here from the Packers Saints game. The leading rusher for the Packers had 19 yards.
Yeah,
That's
that can't happen for with Green Bay, you know.
yeah.
And Rodgers
Green Bay
threw
had
what
a
like 50 times or something like that.
no. He only threw 28 times.
Oh, that was Josh Allen. Allen threw 51
Yeah,
times, I
he only
think.
threw 28 times, but
Yeah,
he was good for a 13.4 QBR, um, which is bad. And he threw
very.
for 133 yards and 28 times, which is bad, and threw 2 picks, which is not great.
Yeah, I saw that tweet where it was like if he had just spiked the ball into the ground on
Yeah,
every pass attempt, he would have a higher QBR than what he actually did. That's
yeah,
just tough. Like he can't come back from that. But then again, he still is an MVP caliber quarterback, you know. And I think the Packers are when we flash forward to January, the Packers are going to
yeah.
be in that picture. I believe.
It
I'd
it'll
be
just take
willing
him.
to put my word on that, but it'll take a little while. You know, it's a semi.
Yeah,
You know, it takes a little while to get going at the stoplight. So, yeah, that was a really good game, fun to watch. You know, I'll always take pride in watching the Packers get dismantled. Um,
yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the Steelers. They were down most of the game, and then they scored 23 points in the second half, kind of out of nowhere. I don't know where did that come from.
yeah, so everybody's talking about Pittsburgh beat Buffalo. Pittsburgh, this is Pittsburgh back. Is Big Ben? Is this like the last dance? Is he gonna?
I don't
Is
think
he
Ben
gonna?
played great.
Oh no! But like the Pittsburgh
Yeah,
media overreaction is like Big Ben looks like God. He's gonna outplay Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship. Whatever. They're always overreacting, but Big Ben did not look good. There were several passes where Ben was on the move and he overshot a receiver that led to a 3-and-out, or he couldn't get out of the pocket fast enough. So the offense,
hmm
I mean, out of the 20, was it 26 points that we scored or something? Only 7 of those were, we only scored one offensive touchdown. Like we only drove down the field and scored one time. The rest was settling for a field goal, or we blocked the punt and then returned it for a touchdown. So, um, I mean, to my knowledge, what I can remember. Um, but the offense is a huge concern. Uh, Not being able to, run any play besides trips left and a slant across the middle is really tough. And having Ben
yeah,
in his advanced age, not being able to get out of the pocket like he used to be able to, really hinders that offense. Um, Now, the defense, on the other hand, is a completely different story. Cameron Hayward had the most like QB pressures of any lineman in week one. TJ
hmm
Watt had a forced fumble, excuse me, and a sack. Um, so I mean, the defense looked really good. Excuse me. Wow. No, hang on. I'm gonna grab a water. All right, halftime's over. But no, the defense looked really good, and I can't say enough good things about the defense. Um,
yeah,
but that offense is a concern, definitely a
hmm
concern. And we, even though we traded or we fired our offensive coordinator and replaced him, that offense is still a big question mark. So, but I'm gonna if the Steelers, if you're gonna give me a Steelers Week 1 upset in Buffalo, I'll take that. I'll take that any day. So
yeah. Um, there was a few, I think, pretty surprising results. I mean, Texans just kind of whooped up on the Jaguars. Um, I mean, we'll see where that goes with Jacksonville. I'm not feeling great about them after week one. Probably not going to be. I don't think it's going to be a long tenure for Urban in Jacksonville. We'll see
yeah,
though, but I don't anticipate him being there long. I think the Chargers knocking off Washington was a pretty good win. Washington's got a good defense at home. Um, Chargers just went in there, got a win, and then obviously Cardinals just whooped up on the Titans. I'm not gonna buy the Cardinals yet because I feel like they had a pretty similar start to last season. Murray gets hot. They're kind of a sexy pick to win 12-ish games, and then they kind of just fizzled out. Um, I'm not I'm not all in on the Cardinals yet, but it's definitely a surprise to see them just beat up on the Titans, who have been a pretty consistent playoff team the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
That was, and the Lions almost came back and beat the Niners. The
Yeah,
Lions put up
I don't
16.
I don't know what happened with that.
It was the last couple minutes of that game were pretty wild.
Yeah, I did not know what was going on. Like I saw people like if you were paying attention to the lines, it was like 49ers minus 9.5, and they were up like 20 with like a couple minutes left, and all these people were like, yeah, good win, whatever. And then you blink, and now the Lions are one possession away from tying the game. So
Yeah.
um that was a really weird game, and I think like if they play that game like 30 times, I think the Niners win that game by a comfortable margin. But that was just a weird outlier of a game.
hmm For sure.
And then the Thursday night football game was pretty good too. Dallas Tampa.
Yes. Dallas
I
surprised
was
me.
not expecting the Cowboys to look good, and look like a
Yeah.
competent football team. So
Yeah.
um, I still think Tampa, like again, if we're in January, I think Tampa's going to be in the picture as well. I think Tom Brady's still, unfortunately, very good at football, and I think he has the weapons in Tampa to make it happen again. But I was not expecting to Dallas to give Tampa, a run for their money, week one. So
Yeah.
and that was a really interesting game. Did you were watch that, right?
Yeah, I watched part of it. I watched some of the end. To me, yeah, I don't want to read too much into one week. If I do think the Cowboys are going to be able to beat up on their division a little bit. It's a good sign for them to be able to get off to at least a fairly solid start. Um, I just I don't know if they can rely on Dak doing what he did every week.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm not as encouraged by the Dallas performance as some people are. Like I still think they're gonna probably make the playoffs just because they play, especially now with Fitzpatrick out. I just don't see another team in the NFC East that's gonna be able to like score consistently. I mean, the Eagles beat up on the Falcons, but I think the Falcons are pretty bad. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on the Cowboys, but they definitely played pretty well week one. But we'll see if that hangs around.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be NFL Week One if we didn't mention that the Bears are indeed not back.
No.
Um, they looked really bad, and Matt Nagy is a crook for not playing Justin Fields. I don't know what's going on, but he's like teasing Bears fans. He's like,
Yeah.
"Here's Andy Dalton for 2 plays, and then Justin Fields runs an option, and then." Like you just need to pick one or the other. Like I know you promised Andy Dalton the starting job, but this is a business. You put your best team on the field, and if you draft a guy who's going to give you the best opportunity to win, you put that guy on the field. Like Justin Fields is a generational talent, in my opinion, quarterback. Like he's probably in the same stratosphere as someone like a Patrick Mahomes or somebody like that. I feel like he could be, and so you're going to play Andy Dalton over him and then tell the media that you need more time to evaluate Andy Dalton. Like that's the most absurd thing ever. So I just
Yeah.
think the Bears need to stick with Justin Fields and not look back.
Yeah. No, it's. Uh, I think they're trying in the part. I think Kim and Pace, the GM. I think it's a way to give them some job security. If they have this guy they've drafted, I don't think they want to roll him out right away and suck, because if they do that, then it's a lot less redeemable than if they sit him out for a while. He comes in and plays pretty well the last half of the season. Um, so in a way, I almost think they're like trying to temper expectations. Um, that's at least a conspiracy theory I've seen, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't think I don't think Fields will be on the bench for long. We'll see though. I think he's going to probably. I don't know when their bye is, but I'm assuming he's going to be in by then, or at least the week after the bye. It's just they're not going to be good enough to justify playing the vet.
Yeah.
It's one thing if they're 500 or they're in a tight race. I mean, it's another if you're 1-4, 1-5. You're not going to be able to justify playing Dalton in that situation. No matter what Fields is like, no matter if he's ready or not, it's just going to be really hard to throw out the below average veteran each week.
Yeah.
If you're struggling.
Yeah. And the below average veteran doesn't sell tickets either. Nobody's going to want to
Correct.
come to the games to watch
Yeah.
Andy Dalton, throw 3 interceptions. So,
Yeah.
you know, talent, Justin Fields blows Andy Dalton out of the water. And then at the same time, you also have to think like nobody wants to watch Andy Dalton. People want to see, the draft pick, the talent, So, any other week 1 NFL storylines you want to discuss that I missed?
I mean,
Colts looked pretty bad.
yeah. I don't know. I watched some of that game. I think a lot of it was Russ kind of cooked. I also think the Colts are going to take a step back. Patriots Dolphins was pretty interesting. Mac Jones looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. The Dolphins pretty much were like, we're gonna make Mac make quick decisions, and he did. They played a lot of zone. They played a lot of cover zero blitzes. Basically, we're like trying to force him to get the ball out, make quick decisions, not give him 8 hours in the pocket like he had in Alabama. And Jones played pretty well. Got the ball out quick. He was just hitting what the defense gave him, and I felt like the Patriots outplayed the Dolphins in that game, as hard as it is for me to say that. And they just didn't win. Now, to be fair, the one touchdown the Patriots scored was after one of the worst roughing the passer calls I've ever seen.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you've seen it.
I did see it like in passing on the Twitter timeline.
The linebacker gets pretty much blocked as he's going after Jones, and so he's like falling over, and like as he's falling over, he sacks him by his legs. The ball hasn't been thrown, sacks him by his legs, and they call it like illegal hit to the lower body or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a bad call. That's where Jones' one touchdown came off of. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of Mac Jones. I was to me, he felt a lot like a poor man's version of basically of what Tua was in college. And to me, that just didn't seem like it was going to work out in the NFL. But he looked pretty good. For what it's worth, the Patriots have, I think, one of the better rosters in the NFL this year. They really improved their offensive skill positions, which were a weak point last year, and they really improved some of their edge rushers, especially on defense. So it was an impressive win for the Dolphins for sure. I wasn't really anticipating a win. AFC East is going to be pretty interesting this year. I still think Buffalo is the favorite, but I think both New England and Miami could win 10 or 11 games. So
Yeah.
that's going to be one of the better divisions, I think, in football this year.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think any Bill Belichick coach team with a decent quarterback is going to give you a run for your money in the division race. So I'll never count Bill Belichick out, and I think Miami could be good. I haven't looked at them enough or looked into them, I guess. But
it's basically the same team as last year. I mean, I honestly, the only major changes they've made are bringing in Will Fuller, who was suspended week 1, and then drafting Jalen Waddle, who had a pretty good game. So it basically comes down to, I mean, if the defense repeats, if the defense has a good year, they're probably going to make the playoffs just because last year they went 10-6 and didn't make it. But but I don't think the defense is going to be quite as good. But I do think Tua will take a little bit of a step forward. He looked pretty good, I thought. Um, the thing with him is everyone's just dropping 8 against him. If you watch the game, not to get too far out in the NFL because I do want to talk about college football a little bit. Um, if you watch the game, the Patriots were pretty much dropping 8 most plays. Um, because his strength is his decision making. It was that way in college. He runs the RPO really, really well. He's great at hitting the underneath routes with speed and with quickness. Um, so the problem comes when they drop 8, and he's got to find the soft spot in the coverage, because his decision making's elite. He makes quick decisions, but he just doesn't quite have the like elite arm strength to really pick you apart when you're playing 8 when you're dropping 8. Um, so the Dolphins have got to find a way to get a run game going to where they can kind of punish that. Because once you get a run game going and he can just run RPOs and slants and um, some quick hit go routes on the edge, he'll look a lot better. But for now, he's a really good. I mean, he is what he is right now. He's just a game manager, but he's a really good game manager. He doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Makes the right decisions. So
Is that it for NFL Week 1? We can move on to college football.
yeah,
All right,
for
perfect.
sure.
All right, so I'll briefly go over the college football storylines. Oregon upsets Ohio State. We'd love to see that. Pitt survives Tennessee. That was a really good game. I watched all of that. Notre Dame might not be that good. It pains me to say that, but they might be really bad, and we just don't realize it yet. Iowa won a thriller against Iowa State. That was a really good game to watch. We had a service academy under. It was Navy Air Force. Air Force won that big time. That was a really interesting game to watch. Texas loses to Arkansas. BYU upsets Utah. And then Stanford beats USC outright. 3 really big upsets this weekend. My lab picks went 5-3, hit another 60+% week. Good to see that. And then Clay Helton, see ya, out the door at USC after losing to Stanford. USC's got a little bit of a problem here because they have to do they have an interim coach yet?
USC, I don't think so, unless I've missed it.
Yeah, so you're going into this weekend, you don't know who your coach is yet, and then you've also got to find a new coach to replace him. So that's going to be interesting. I won't talk a lot about Clay Helton, but I will say that USC's best option here is to go outside of the program, hire somebody else. Don't promote an assistant coach. Go completely outside of the program, rework it, restructure, do whatever. But whatever you've got going on right now isn't working, obviously. So, and I don't even know why they were ranked. I mean, they were top 25 preseason and then after week 1 as well. And here they are losing to Stanford by like 300 points. So,
yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
was
maybe
weird.
just a little bit of program bias. Notre Dame. But yeah, we'll start with the Oregon game. Oregon, Ohio State. We had that on our pick'em slate. I took Ohio State, you took Ohio State, and we lost big time. Oregon, even despite the defensive line injuries, upsets Ohio State in Columbus. Huge statement win for the program. Your takeaways from the game?
Really quick, Ohio State's defense is just not. It's not gonna work against the best of the best. They've got problems. I've listened to people talk about it. Sounds like they're running a very vanilla defense, and they don't quite have the top end athletes who to really run a vanilla defense. Like they basically were just in cover 3 the entire game. So yeah, that's my takeaway is Ohio State's defense got issues. Their offense is fine. Their offense will be fine. And it's not going to matter in the Big Ten because there's not a team in the Big Ten who's going to be able to go out and exploit your secondary. People might say Indiana, but Indiana's offensive coordinator is awful. They don't have an offensive line to even give time to throw down the field. And there's really no other team in the Big Ten that has the arm talent or the athleticism on the outside to pick you apart. So Ohio State's going to be fine. They're going to win out. They're going to make the playoff. But they're not going to do anything in the playoff because their defense is too easily exposed by a high quality offensive coaching and by high quality offensive playmaking. You're muted.
Yeah. My take on it is exactly that. The defense did not. This is not the Ohio State defense from last year.
Well, their defense wasn't even good last year either. Their defense last year, gave up what, 35 points to IU, 500 yards through the air. I mean, their defense last year was okay, but man, against Minnesota, their defense didn't look great.
Yeah. That's my takeaway is Ohio State's defense is not going to be reliable. And like you said, high quality coaching, an offensive, powerhouse is going to be able to exploit Ohio State's weak secondary, weak defensive game plan.
Oregon's got the inside track on the college football playoff berth for the Pac-12, which would be big because they haven't got one of those in a while.
Yeah, that would be certainly Ohio State maybe being a 2 or 3 loss team, but winning the Big Ten, which I think is still in play, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I think Iowa's a fraud. I'm just going to go out there and say it real quick. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But let's say Ohio State wins the Big Ten, but they're a 2 or 3 loss team. You're not going to put a 2-3 loss team in the college football playoff. You're going to put Oregon, Pac-12 champion, 1 loss over that Ohio State team, I think. So, this certainly opens the door for the Pac-12, for sure. And a lot of people thought it would be USC, but that ship has kind of sunk. And Oregon seems to be the favorite coming out of the Pac-12. Ohio State, lots of question marks, but we'll see. I still think they're the favorite for the Big Ten, though. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. They don't have a team in the Big. There's not a team in the Big Ten that's going to expose their weaknesses. Yeah. I'd have to look at their schedule. I don't think there's a team in the East or the West for that matter, but the East usually has a team or two that could theoretically hang with Ohio State. I don't think Penn State's offense is going to be able to do that. I don't think Michigan's offense is going to be able to do that. Michigan's offense is very much based on ball control this year, running the crap out of the ball. So they did against Washington. I don't think they're going to have any problems winning the Big Ten, but I have concerns about them come playoff time when they play a team that has got a good quarterback and has got a good offensive coach.
Yeah. We'll move on. Pitt survives Tennessee. We won't spend a ton of time on this game, but Pat Narduzzi just doesn't understand or know how to win a football game without, making it interesting late in the game. He's always got to throw a wrench in his own plans to make it fun, increase my heart rate, would do whatever. But Pitt survives in Rocky Top. And I pick, we both had Pitt for that game, correct? Yeah, we both picked Pitt. Laying 3 there, they won by 7. So that was a good pick by both of us. Did you watch that game at all? Did you have any takeaways?
I watched a little bit of it. I mean, I just don't think Tennessee's very good. I just kind of thought Pitt was going to be able to kind of dominate them. They didn't dominate them, but I never really felt like they were going to lose. I don't know if they really ever trailed. Tennessee's not that great. Their defense isn't great. Their offense hasn't looked great. Not much to take away from that game. Pitt's just, last few years, they've just been 7-5, 8-4, and they're probably going to go 7-5, 8-4 this year.
So that's the story of Pat Narduzzi for you. 7-5. Put it on the tombstone.
It works though, and it works for
Yeah,
Pitt.
I
I
mean,
mean, you can't. I don't think you can really. It's not a job where I think you can really be clamoring for much more.
yeah.
Now, if he goes 7-5, 10 years in a row, at that point you might be like, all right, let's try something different.
Mhm.
But for now, it works.
Yeah. And then in another game that increased my blood pressure, Notre Dame survives a scare against college football powerhouse Toledo. Um, in South Bend, I don't know what to make of this game. I don't know if there are any words in the English language that can put together a sentence that describes what transpired in South Bend on Saturday. I don't know how Toledo was even in this game. I don't know what's going on with Notre Dame. But what I'm going to try to do is explain maybe a little bit about what's going on. I think my first inclination is there's not enough pressure on the quarterback for the other team. The defensive line is not getting to the quarterback. And I think part of that is maybe the defensive line is a little bit weaker than last year. But also our defense, we switched coordinators. We hired the guy from Cincinnati. I forget his name.
Marcus Freeman.
What was his name?
Marcus Freeman.
Marcus Freeman, that's right. And he, I guess his hallmark is only rushing three guys, no matter the down. And I just don't think that, maybe it fared well for him in Cincy, but if you are obviously better than the other team and you're stronger and you're bigger, there's no need to be dropping 8 guys and only rushing 3 on 3rd and 8. Send the house, do whatever, or 3rd and 1, rushing 3 guys. You just send the house. They're going to run it. But the defense needs to shore it up. You can't be giving up 30 points to Toledo at home. And then, the offense looks like the offense. It's a typical Notre Dame offense. Jack Cohn looks decent. He looks like a Notre Dame quarterback. But that defense has got to do something. They cannot be giving up 30 points to Florida State and Toledo in back-to-back weeks. That just cannot happen, especially if you want to consider yourself a top 10 team and want to make a run at the college football playoff.
Yeah. That game was – Toledo should have won that, just flat out. If the guy who scored the touchdown with like a minute and a half left had just went down at the 1 yard line and they had just drained clock and kicked a field goal, they would have won. Notre Dame might not be good. And we're seeing Florida State lose to Jacksonville State.
That game was crazy.
Florida State played Notre Dame into overtime. So Notre Dame is very lucky to be 2-0 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Very well could be 0-2. I still think they will get this on track. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Thankfully, they don't. I know they play a couple pretty good teams, but they don't really play them for a couple weeks still. I know they have Purdue this week. Purdue could give them some problems, but I still think Notre Dame will be able to beat Purdue. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's not a great start for them. But the good thing about college football is you don't really get docked for winning ugly. So long term, if they turn this around, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if they're going to be able to turn it around based off what we've seen.
Yeah, the defense is definitely got to pull it together. Iowa State, that was a pretty good game. I watched a lot of that, especially because I was huge on Iowa's defense. And I think we both had Iowa in that game, if I'm correct. Yes. I think part of this game was Iowa State might be a little bit overrated now. And I still think Iowa's overrated, but not as overrated as Iowa State. Iowa, in terms of SP plus, is 5 points better than Iowa State. So A, I think the wrong team was favored in this game. But B, I think Iowa is the team that's less overrated. There's a couple stats that I wanted to hit on with Iowa. And this might make you feel – was that lightning?
Yeah, it's storming.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. So back on track. This might console you in your Indiana, loss by 20 something points to Iowa. Through 2 games, there is one team that leads the nation in points off turnover margin. They are plus 37 through 2 games. That team is the Iowa Hawkeyes. A statistic that I use, or a metric, or whatever you want to call it, called F plus. It's an overall team rating of standard of deviation above or below average. There's F plus, which is team total, standard of deviation, offensive OF plus, and defensive DF plus. Iowa's OF plus is the lowest of any of the top 25 teams at 0.22, meaning they're the worst offensive team in terms of this metric of any of the top 25 teams. SP plus, Iowa's offensive ranking is 64, which is the worst by far, by more than 20 spots of any of the top 15 teams. So I think Iowa has received a lot of turnover luck, which you might compare to a team from 2020 that came from Bloomington. Lots of turnover luck, good defense. But I just don't think that whatever Iowa has going on and over there is sustainable. A plus 37 points off turnover margin through 2 weeks is not sustainable in the long run. So I'm kind of bearish on Iowa, but if they're going to give me an underdog outright winner in week 2, I'll take that. But I just don't think that Iowa is as good as the Big Ten media is making them out to be.
There's a really good chance they are going to be 5-0 and ranked top 4 going into the Penn State game on October 9th. And there's a good chance Penn State could be 5-0 or 6-0 and be ranked.
You need to sit down with your children and talk to your kids about top 4 Iowa. Have a talk with them.
I think. Let me find this game.
Can you imagine? Oh my goodness. Top 5
year was
Iowa and Penn State and Kinnick.
What year was it? Let me find this. There was a year where Iowa was ranked top. Where Iowa was literally about ready to make the playoff. Yes, 2015. They went undefeated in the regular season and lost the Big Ten championship game. There's a chance we see that this year. I mean, just flat out, they could very well be undefeated going in the Big Ten championship game. But that game in Kinnick, Penn State at Iowa on October 9th is an early look ahead. But they are going to go at worst, I think, 10-2 at this point, maybe 11. They have a pretty easy schedule. I kind of like them. I know the turnover margins and stuff are bad, and I know they haven't been as good on like a down for down basis as the record and their wins might say. But I kind of buy into Iowa. I kind of buy into their defense, in the sense that they are peak Iowa right now, and peak Iowa in the Big Ten West is going to win you a lot of football games. So they might not be the best team. They might not even be a top 10 team, but if they do what they do well, they're going to be fine in the Big Ten West. So we'll see. But I get the pessimism on them.
I'm definitely bearish on them, but I mean, Matt Campbell hasn't beaten Iowa in his tenure at Iowa State.
No, talk about an overrated. Oh man, I can't stand the Iowa State love, man.
Yeah.
I'm happy Iowa beat them. Iowa State went 9-3 last year and lost to a group of 5 team, and people acted like they were. Ugh. Yeah, no, I'm over the Iowa State thing. They're fine, but yeah.
Yeah, but I would like to say thank you to Iowa for the +4 outright winner in week 2. I'll take that any day of the week. But long term, I'm gonna go bearish on Iowa just because I don't think the turnover margin is sustainable, and the advanced metrics are telling us that at some point along the line of their schedule, that offense is going to start. That offensive, once the turnover margin kind of pulls back to normal, that offense is going to have to step up, and they're just not going to be there. They're not going to be able to produce the points they're not going to be dropping 30 points a week. So, yeah, that's basically my take on Iowa. We'll move on to, I wanted to talk about, it was Air Force and Navy briefly. Excuse me. We were both on Air Force outright. And I also gave out the under in this game because since 2005 games featuring 2 service academies, the under is 39-9-1. And ladies and gentlemen, the under hit. So by a mile, not even close. It's one of my favorite, just, like random stats in college football, is 2 option teams that can't throw the ball, just chew clock the entire game, and the under hits. The line is always in the 40s and they never even get close. But it was a really, not a game you watch, but really interesting to see 2 option offenses kind of duel back and forth. So I just wanted to throw that weird statistic out there. We'll go to the upsets. BYU, Arkansas, Stanford all upset their opponents this week. BYU beating Utah. I'll be honest, I didn't see this one coming. Actually, I didn't see any of them coming, to be honest. But BYU Utah was the one that really stuck with me because I was like 99% sure Utah was going to win that game, and I thought they were going to win by a decent margin. But in all of the metrics, I mean, SP Plus had BYU underweight, like really low, and then they came out and they beat Utah. So did you watch that game, and do you have a takeaway on it?
On BYU and Utah?
Mm-hmm.
No, I did not watch it, but I was very surprised when I saw BYU was winning.
Maybe the Pac-12 just isn't as good as everybody thinks it is outside of Oregon.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I was told to be low on BYU going into the year. I was told they weren't returning much and that they weren't going to be able to run the same offense as last year. And I still kind of think that. Like, they beat Arizona by 8. I don't think that's that good. Arizona's not very good.
No.
Arizona sucks. And, like, everyone was, whoa. Power just went out.
Folks, live on the Jimmy Chance Show, we've got a power flickering, something going on.
It is storming. And we were just kind of told Utah was going to be great. Utah wasn't very good last year, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, I know Utah is one of those programs that you kind of just bank on them bouncing back, and they weren't very good last year, so I'm not sold on BYU yet. I was surprised to see they beat Utah, but I gotta see more. I think this week will tell us. If they can beat Arizona State this week, I think I'll be in. But yeah, we'll see. I'm just not sure Utah is great.
Yeah, I don't think the Pac-12 in particular, or the Pac-12 is not there, and especially Utah in particular.
Right now it's looking like UCLA and Oregon.
Yeah.
And maybe Stanford's got something there. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe.
I don't know.
I would take
UCLA. I would take UCLA first.
Yeah. It's the Wi-Fi.
Folks, the power just went out during a live taping of the Jimmy Chance Show. You don't get that anywhere else but the Jimmy Chance Show. Oh, man.
Where were we?
We were going into Texas, Arkansas.
Oh, yes.
Okay. We'll pick up right here. Texas, Arkansas. Texas 7.5-point favorites on the road against Arkansas. Arkansas being in the bottom half of the SEC. And this is
not anymore.
Huge win for the program. You need to talk to your kids about top 4 Iowa and ranked Arkansas. No, I'm just kidding. Don't talk to your kids about it. It's not going to happen. But
Arkansas is ranked.
What?
They're ranked.
What?
Yeah, they're 20th.
What?
Yeah.
They are?
Yeah, man. They beat the crap out of Texas.
Hang on. Give me a sec. I need to verify this with my own eyes. Talk to your kids. Yes, talk to your kids about ranked Arkansas. They are ranked 20th. I didn't even see that. Holy smokes. Folks, you need to sit down and have the talk with your children about potentially top four Iowa and ranked Arkansas. My goodness. This is sort of whirlwind of a college football season, and we haven't even gotten to week 3. Goodness. But okay, so Arkansas, huge win for the program. Did you see that video on Twitter of the coach as they were storming the field and they're like tearing down the goalposts and the coach is like on the side like tearing up? Did you see that video?
Arkansas's coach?
Yeah, or Arkansas's coach. Yeah, I think I liked it on Twitter.
I did not see that.
I'll send it to you, but
I
it's really
I do like their coach though. Pittman's.
Yeah.
I think Pittman's a good coach.
It's basically like the sheriff, like his security comes over and is like talking to him about like, you know, if they tear down the goalpost, the program's gonna have to pay a fine. And he's like, I don't care about the fine. Like, let's just party tonight. And then like as he's like watching the students rush the field and he's like crying or whatever. It was really cool. It was a really cool video. But yeah, huge win for the program. And I just want to say I'm a sucker for thinking Texas was back. After week 1, beating Louisiana, proving me wrong, I was all in on the Sark train. And I was thinking, you know, Texas is back. Is this the year? You know, whatever. And then in typical Texas fashion, they can't string 2 good games back to back. I should have known. And they just lay a complete egg in week 2, losing to Arkansas. So yeah, I'm a sucker for thinking Texas was back. I got sucked into the hype and just what I didn't stick to my principles. Got caught up, but you know, it's whatever. Any takeaways on that game?
I think Arkansas is pretty good. They were pretty feisty last year, and I believe they have one of the hardest schedules in all of college football, and people were pretty low on them this year. But they were pretty feisty last year. Maybe Sam Pittman's building something here. They got a chance to play Texas A&M at home in 2 weeks. All of a sudden, that looks like a pretty good game. And they go on the road to Georgia the week after that. So, not saying they're going to win either of those games, but if they can pick up one of those games, talking about some pretty serious momentum here for Arkansas. Yeah, they just beat them up and literally never in doubt. It was definitely impressive. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, and then we had Stanford USC. Stanford straight up beats the wheels off of USC, and then 2 days later, turns around, fires Clay Helton. You know, see ya out the door, and USC is now in turmoil. Pac-12 is shaken up. USC not ranked anymore, so I didn't watch much of that game because it was on the late. I think it was a later game if I'm remembering correctly. It was Pac-12 after dark.
Yeah, it was late.
So I was not able to watch a lot of that game because I was asleep. But yeah, I don't have any takeaways from that game other than USC is probably who we thought they were preseason. You know, only ranked because of their program history. So
yeah, I was high on USC this year, because they were pretty good last year, and I felt like they were gonna be able to not go like 12-0, but I thought they were gonna be able to go 9-3 ish. Gonna probably reevaluate that after this week. We'll see though. The only ranked opponents left on their schedule. I guess they got Notre Dame, Arizona State, BYU, UCLA left. They got 4 ranked opponents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're gonna play as bad as they did against Stanford the rest of the year. I'm assuming once you get an interim in there, you will see a bit of a turnaround. But they're definitely not a top 25 team at this point.
Yeah. And then I put out some lab picks on, I think it was Friday night or Saturday morning. Those went 5-3. I put out 8 picks. They went 5-3. Another plus 60+% weekend. You know, whenever I go home from college, And my mom's like, when are you going to get a girlfriend? Like, are you going to be married when you get out of school? And I'm like, Mom, when I stop picking 60% college football winners, I will find a girlfriend. And lately, I just can't stop picking 60% winners. So as long as the lab keeps printing out money, keeps printing out winners, I'm just gonna just keep doing my thing. But I did make a tweet to the lab, and I think I'm gonna tweet about it on Thursday. But it's kind of cool. I don't mean to boast, but it was kind of interesting or cool what I did. Um, Basically, like I'm making my own predictions about the game, like who's going to win by how many points or whatever, based on like a couple different metrics that I'm factoring in. So I'm going to do a tweet about it, I think on Thursday when I have some free time. But it's really cool. And that'll be the updated lab that I'll go to every Friday night and get my picks in. But yeah, picks go 5-3. We already talked about Clay Helton, so we'll move on to the pick'em slate. Let's see here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games this week, I believe, if I'm counting correctly. Through 2 weeks, Marcus is in the lead at 12-7, and I am 2 games back at 10-9. Clemson week 1 really kicked me in the nuts. They didn't score a touchdown, which I guess is, you kind of need to do that in football to win. So that kind of was a gut punch. And then you had, if I remember correctly, this week, you had Mississippi State over NC State. That was a good pick there. NC State just didn't show up. It was a coin flip game, and I was on the wrong side.
That's what the difference is, right? The
Yeah.
Mississippi State and Georgia games, right?
So those 2 games are what separates us right now, but we've got plenty of time to shorten or widen that gap depending on how my season goes. But first game we're going to visit this week is very near and dear to Marcus's heart. It'll be number 8 Cincinnati visiting Bloomington. This is a interesting game. Oh, what's up, Ethan?
You good?
Yeah, I'll be out in a little bit.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, okay. I'll just cut that out. We've got number 8 Cincinnati visiting Indiana. Indiana 3.5-point underdogs at home. I'm gonna ride with Cincy. You're riding with Indiana. I'm gonna let you talk about this first because this is like this is it for you. Like if Indiana doesn't win this, the season is kind of in jeopardy, I believe. So this is a must-win game for Indiana. And what do you think? How are you feeling?
I don't think it's a must-win game for Indiana. I don't think unless your expectations for this team are like 9-3, 10-2. I don't think this is a must-win game. I think this game is big, but I don't think any game against a top 10 team when you're Indiana is must win. And if it is, that's a good sign. I think Indiana's going to win. Yeah, it's tough. Cincinnati did not look great last week against Murray State. Cincinnati's got a rough-ish O-line, and Indiana's got, I think, a really good defense this year. Against Iowa, they gave up really one score that wasn't significantly aided by turnovers. And also that wasn't in garbage time. And then against Idaho, obviously I think it was 35-7 at half, 35-0 before Idaho scored a touchdown. Yeah, I think Indiana is going to be able to cause some havoc against Cincinnati. I think they're going to get some turnovers. I think they're going to be able to hold them to 14, 17, 20-ish points. And so a lot of it comes down to whether or not Indiana can score. We'll see. Kind of think the home field advantage in this one is going to be big. Sold out. The atmosphere at the Idaho game, from what I've heard, was one of the best atmospheres that people have seen ever at an Indiana football game. And we're talking about a game against Idaho. Mm-hmm. So to me, if you bring in a top 10 opponent, sold out crowd, I just think it's a good I think it's a good recipe here for Indiana. And I think the fact that the line is only 3.5 tells me that there's some smart money coming in on Indiana, because I kind of figured it would open or at least be around 6 or 7. And the fact that it's at 3.5 tells me the people that know what they're doing, the people that are making the money, and the people, because I think most of the public is going to be on Cincinnati in this game.
Yeah.
So that tells me that there's something going on here, that people think Indiana is going to be able to either outright win this or keep it to a 1, 2, or 3-point game. So I'm going to go Indiana.
Yeah, I'm pulling up my my little program I've got here real quick, but I was kind of expecting a larger spread as well, and I'm actually going to run the program real quick. I was expecting Cincinnati to be a larger favorite. Let me enter this real quick. Cincinnati. I'm going to agree with you on a lot of what you said about your breakdown of the game. I think that Indiana is going to be able to limit Cincinnati to about 20 to 27 points, somewhere in there. And it's a matter of whether they can score or not. And from what I saw from the offense against Iowa, now is Cincinnati's defense in the same atmosphere as Iowa's? No. But I haven't seen enough from Indiana's offense yet, despite, whatever 50 points from Idaho or against Idaho. I haven't seen enough from Indiana's offense against a good team that would make me confident enough to pick them. Now, I thought this line was going to be a lot bigger. I thought it was going to be somewhere like 6.5 to 10 points. My program had it as, let me look, as a 13.5 point line. So, Cincinnati 2 touchdowns better than Indiana. So that would tell me that there is some smart people thinking that Indiana does have a really good shot at winning this game, which kind of concerns my Cincinnati pick, or concerns me about my Cincinnati pick. But I really hope I'm wrong. I would love to see Indiana win this game, but I just haven't seen enough from Indiana yet that would make me confident enough to say, like, they're going to beat a top 10 team in Cincinnati. Now, if Indiana comes out and looks really good against Cincinnati, maybe I'll think like, okay, maybe week 1 was a fluke. The turnover luck, wasn't on their side, and Indiana might be good, but until I see it play out in front of my eyes, I'm not willing to take that risk. So I'm going to take Cincinnati outright here. And you were going to go to the game, right? But we've got the floor retreat.
Yeah, my family's got tickets to it.
That's tough.
4 tickets, and right now we're only using 3, so
Thoughts and
I
prayers.
was going to be the 4th man, but it's all right. It's all right.
Next game, we've got Virginia Tech versus West Virginia. 15 ranked Virginia Tech going to Morgantown. West Virginia laying 2.5. Some places it's up to 3 now, depending on where you do your business. Virginia Tech, I love Virginia Tech in this game for some reason. This might be a lab pick this week. The only thing that concerns me is I've picked against West Virginia at home again, like before last year, and they just like blew whoever they were playing out of the water, and it wasn't even close. So I'm really scared about picking against West Virginia at home. And then especially picking Virginia Tech, who is a team that thrives on playing at home and kind of sometimes struggles with playing on the road. So I'm a little scared about my Virginia Tech pick, but all of the metrics, all of the SP+, the F+, all of that is telling me that Virginia Tech is a far better football team all around than West Virginia. And so I believe that the wrong team is favored here. So for now, I'm going to go with Virginia Tech, but that's subject to change, of course.
I'm going West Virginia. Don't have many reasons for this. but give me the Mountaineers.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're picking West Virginia at home, no matter the sport, it's a good pick.
Yeah.
So they're one of the teams that thrives on that kind of tailgate culture. The boondocks of Morgantown. But yeah, that'll be an interesting game. Next, we will travel to the Swamp, where number 1 Alabama will march in and face number 11 Florida. Florida 15.5-point dogs at home. Let's see here. I've got Alabama winning this game outright. My machine is going to tell me that Florida covers, but Alabama wins. So
Well, isn't the rule we're doing if it's over 10 points, we're playing
if
it
it's
by
over
spread?
10 points, we're picking on the spread. My thing is Alabama's defense is really good. And I mean, top 5 in the nation. And I think that if Alabama is playing as hard as they can all 4 quarters, and what I think they will against a top 15 opponent, I think that there is a chance that Alabama wins this game by 17, 20 points. And in that case, I would be kind of scared to pick Florida, So my machine's going to tell me Florida covers. The line should be around 11, according to my numbers. But I'm really scared about the potential of Bryce Young and that Alabama defense, those starters being out on the field for all 4 quarters and just wreaking havoc on Florida. So I'm going to roll with Bama to cover the 15.5.
Yeah, I don't feel great about this one. I don't know. 15.5 feels like a big spread.
Mm-hmm.
For a home top 11 team. I don't feel great about this, but I feel like we've had a pretty chaotic season so far. So I'm just gonna anticipate some more chaos here and go with Florida to cover. I still think Alabama's gonna win.
Yeah. Wow, excuse me. I don't have COVID. I tested and I tested negative. I'm fine, but I've just got this tickle. And when you get that tickle in the back of your throat, it's driving me crazy. It's just the worst feeling ever.
Yes.
I don't have a fever.
Yes, I know. I don't
have
feeling.
chills, but I just have this weird some guys in the back of my throat just taking a feather, just tickling the back of my throat. It's really weird.
Yes, it's very annoying.
Yeah.
It's very annoying when I have had tickles before.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah.
They're hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I just downed 2 bottles of water in 15 minutes. That was brutal. But next game we've got is Virginia going to Chapel Hill to take on the 21st ranked. Is that 21st ranked? Ranked? Yeah, whatever. Ranked 21.
Whatever.
Tar Heels laying 9 at home. Marcus is going to go with the chaos pick and take Virginia over North Carolina. Since this spread is, thank my lucky stars that it's under 10, I get to roll with UNC outright. Now, does this pick concern me after watching UNC against Virginia Tech? Absolutely, especially after I got screwed over big time in that game because I had UNC. But I still think that UNC is the team that everybody thought they were prior to Virginia Tech. I still like Sam Howell. I still like their offense to figure it out. So I'm going to take UNC outright here. I haven't run this one through the machine yet to get the number, but I do think that I'm comfortable with UNC winning outright here.
I'm going Virginia. Virginia looked really good last week against Illinois. Dominated them. I kind of feel like Virginia. I kind of feel like the ACC is a mess this year. It's very jumbled up, and I think Virginia could be a sneaky they could get in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough that it's on the road. If it was at Virginia, I'd be all over this. I'm still gonna go Virginia because I've been down on North Carolina since the start of the year. They haven't done anything to disprove that. So give me Virginia in the upset.
Yeah. Next game is the Jimmy Chance Show primetime game of the week. We've got number 22 Auburn taking a visit to old Happy Valley to take on the 10th ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. Nittany Lions are laying 6.5 in the whiteout game. This is probably the game, like the marquee game on the schedule this week. Anytime there's a top 25 matchup in Happy Valley and you've got the whiteout game, this is the game that all the eyes are going to be on. And I love that this game is against Auburn because I get to fade Bo Nix on the road. I'm gonna read off a little nerdy stat for you here real quick. In his freshman season, Bo Nix recorded a quarterback rating of 112.76 in 6 road games. For reference, that rating today would rank 95th among quarterbacks nationally. The next year, people expected, that to mediate or, maybe meet somewhere in the middle. He actually digressed and he posted a QB rating of 106.56 away from home, ranking 99th nationally. He is terrible on the road. He always throws interceptions. And I just have zero confidence in the fact that a quarterback who has a 2-year history of being notoriously bad on the road is going to walk into Happy Valley during the whiteout game and win outright. I just not a chance. And I think Penn State wins here, and I think they cover. I like Penn State big in this game. I guess big time, not big like to win by a large margin, but I mean like big time. Like I'm huge on Penn State.
I'm going Penn State. I don't know if I am in on Penn State yet, but I don't trust Auburn in this spot, and they haven't played anyone yet. So until they play someone and beat them, I'm just gonna go Penn State.
Yeah. Next, we'll move on to another top 25 matchup. We've got 19 Arizona State visiting number 23 BYU. BYU 3.5-point underdogs at home in Provo. I think I ran the number on this earlier, and I believe BYU is the favorite in this game, according to my numbers. And I like BYU coming off of the win against Utah, going back home to their fans. I think that plays maybe a larger role in my pick than maybe the numbers do. Coming off of that ranked win against, or that win against ranked Utah, now we're in the top 25 and we're going back home for another top 25 matchup or a top 25 matchup in front of our home fans. I really like BYU in this situation just based off of principle alone. And I'm not sure how I feel about Arizona State. I haven't felt them out yet. I don't know yet. So I'm going to roll with what I know, and I'm going to go with BYU.
I'm going to go with Arizona State. It's more because I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough game to pick because BYU's at home. I think I just like Arizona State a little bit more than BYU at this point. BYU's beat Arizona and Utah, both in close games. Yeah, I just think I like Arizona State more here, so I'm going to go with Arizona State.
Awesome. Next up, last game on the slate, we have Purdue taking a visit to South Bend to face Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame, I have them as 7.5-point underdogs, which is not true. They are 7.5-point favorites. Notre Dame laying 7.5 at home. My pick is going to be Notre Dame outright. So Notre Dame's going to win the game, but my machine has this at Notre Dame -5. So I'm probably going to take Purdue to cover here. And Notre Dame being 0-2 against the spread through 2 weeks and underperforming is probably a huge factor in that decision. I think Purdue's defense, anchored by linebacker George Karlaftis, is going to be able to maybe cause some trouble, some turnover trouble, and limit the points for Notre Dame. And then it's a matter of, can Purdue's offense score enough against Notre Dame's defense? And I think there's a chance. I'm willing to take the chance that they might be able to score enough points to beat Notre Dame. So I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to say Notre Dame wins, but I think Purdue to cover is really worth a look, especially with Notre Dame's performance through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Notre Dame. This is a tough game because I don't like either of these teams personally. Yeah, I kind of want to pick Purdue, but I think Notre Dame at some point is going to get it on track. I don't think they're this bad, and I don't know. I don't think Purdue. I don't think my opinion of Purdue has changed enough in 2 games to pick them on the road against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They beat Oregon State week 1, and I don't remember who they beat week 2, but I don't think it was anyone particularly good. From what I remember.
Oh, Purdue?
Yeah.
They beat UConn like 49-0.
Yeah.
So worst team in football.
Yeah, I don't really have any reason to pick Purdue here, so I'm going to Notre Dame.
All right. Yeah, speaking of UConn, UConn literally cannot score points. They've just fired their coach, and this being the first season since the death of Jonathan the 13th, this is just an absolute disgrace. And I want to say that Jonathan the 13th deserved better. I'm trying not to cry. But Jonathan the 13th deserved better. He deserved a cover in week 1, and he didn't get it. And now we're here losing 49-0 to Purdue. Can't even score a touchdown. Can't even kick a field goal. It's really sad. But they still got basketball, I guess. But yeah, UConn's just like historically bad. They're almost like UMass last year. Like UMass and UConn, just kind of like 2 dumpster fire teams.
The U's.
Anything off the wall that you want to throw out there before we sign off?
Not really. Go Hoosiers this weekend.
Go Hoonsires.
Big game. Go Hoonsires.
Does Pat have a lock of the week that he wants to give out?
Pat's lock of the week is the Indiana Future to win the Big Ten title. Lock it up.
Lock it up. I don't have anything. We'll be in Michigan this weekend. We're going to be on a lake all day, jet skiing, boating, tubing, grilling out, sleeping in a tent. So we'll be kind of off the grid a little bit. It won't be on Twitter as much. But we'll be sure to watch the games. And we'll be back in studio next Monday. Again, we're sorry that we were supposed to be in studio yesterday, but our flag football game ran a little bit long. But that'll only be through the end of the month. It'll only be one more time that we'll have to do virtually. So I guess for now, we're signing off from the Jimmy Chance Show. I'm Rob Cochran. That's Marcus Miller. And we will see you guys on the other side.
Adios.